Hello, I'm Gary Polson at PropellerSafety.com. Welcome to our What is BARD tutorial. Each year, the U.S. Coast Guard compiles boating accident reports into their annual boat accident report database called BARD. This series of tutorials focuses on BARD databases from 2008 to present. The closest most people get to BARD is reading the annual summary of boat accidents they typically see in a newspaper, outdoor magazine, or online each May, just before Memorial Weekend. For example, this is part of our coverage of the Coast Guard's 2018 accident summary. These popular summaries usually encourage us to be safe over Memorial Day weekend and are based on an annual report produced by the Coast Guard. The Coast Guard formally releases a summary of annual boating accidents called the Annual Recreational Boating Statistics. This is the cover of their 2018 report. This report is very important to understanding BARD. You can download recent annual Coast Guard recreational boating statistics reports from the Coast Guard's website. Now back to the report itself. It has some size to it. The 2018 report was 83 pages in length. The report opens with an executive summary listing the total number of accidents reported, total number of injuries and fatalities, and an estimate of the total amount of property damage as a result of boating accidents. As you may have guessed by now, the exact numbers just provided came from BARD. U.S. states and territories supply boat accident reports meeting certain criteria to the Coast Guard. Those reports are basically digitally bound into an annual database called BARD. For these reports and annual databases to be consistent, specific requirements have been developed for what is a reportable accident as well as for those accidents deemed to be non-reportable. Detailed criteria for reportable and non-reportable accidents can be found in the Annual Recreational Boating Statistics Report. For example, detailed criteria and examples were provided on pages 9, 10, and 11 of the 2018 report. For most of our purposes at PropellerSafety.com, the two most relevant criteria in order for an accident to be listed are 1. Someone was injured beyond first aid, including dead or missing, and 2. Property damage and vessel damage totaled $2,000 or more. The 2018 Annual Boating Statistics Report seen here totals up the number of certain types of boating accidents such as capsizing, carbon monoxide poisoning, collision with a fixed object, collision with a floating object, person struck by propeller, and many more. You will notice the first three columns are titled First Event, Second Event, and Third Event. We will talk more about that in the future tutorials. The fourth column is labeled Total Times. For example, there were 177 events in 2018 in which someone was struck by a boat propeller. While you have yet to actually see BARD, you now know more about it than most people. BARD is sort of like a mountain. The people that have any interaction with BARD, most of them just walk around the foothills, read the annual media release, and never even glimpse up at the mountain. Of those that read the annual media release, only a few begin to trek up the mountain, reach base camp, and browse the Coast Guard's annual recreational boating statistics report. Of those that make it to the base camp, only a minuscule number go on up to reach the peak and experience the BARD database for themselves. The purpose of these BARD tutorials is to encourage and to guide many more to the mountaintop so they too can experience BARD for themselves. As long as we're on physical metaphors, BARD itself is like an iceberg. The accidents you can see in BARD are only the tip of the iceberg. Not all accidents are reported, and not all accidents that are reported are viewable by public. We will talk more about these invisible accidents in the future. Now on to the database. Database is a scary word to many people and is one of the major barriers of entry to BARD. This series of tutorials is not going to make you a BARD ninja, but we hope it teaches you enough to at least be able to crawl around in BARD. Once you begin to crawl on your own, you will soon learn to walk. Once you learn to walk, you can learn to jog and eventually to run. The good news is that even while limping around in BARD, you can learn a great deal. We will explore some of the things you can learn in BARD in future tutorials. Most of you are familiar with spreadsheets like Microsoft Excel. Spreadsheets allow you to input data and text into cells arranged into rows and columns. Cells can be programmed to calculate their contents based on the contents of other cells. Databases are sort of multi-dimensional spreadsheets or spreadsheets on steroids. Just like you need a spreadsheet program like Excel to view spreadsheets, you need a database program to view databases like BARD. While several software programs can be used to view BARD, we encourage the use of Microsoft Access on a desktop computer with a large monitor to fully experience BARD. If you are not familiar with Microsoft Access, it is the database program included in the professional version of Microsoft Office. Microsoft also provides a free reader for Access files called Microsoft Access Runtime, with at least some access to BARD databases. You do not have to have the latest version of Access. For example, we still run Access 2003 in order to resurrect some very old database formats from time to time. Finally, we are now up and running in BARD using Microsoft Access. This screen capture shows the list of tables in the 2018 BARD database. Each of the 4 tables listed is basically equivalent to an Excel spreadsheet. The 4 tables have slightly different names through the years, but are generally named Accident or Overview, Death, Injury, and Vessel. The word releasable in front of each table means this is the finalized public version of the BARD database and that all privacy information has been removed from these tables. The accident table provides data about the accident, including the series of events that resulted in the accident, while the death table provides information about those killed and their injuries. Similarly, the injury table provides information about those injured and their injuries. The vessel table provides data about the boat, including its manufacturer, model, and engine. Okay, let's review what we've learned about BARD so far. BARD is the U.S. Coast Guard Boat Accident Report Database, the annual database of recreational boat accidents. BARD data is used to create the annual Coast Guard Recreational Boating Statistics Report. This report is often summarized by the outdoor press in late May. The annual Recreational Boating Statistics Report lists the total number of accidents in BARD in several categories. Accidents must meet certain criteria to be listed in BARD. BARD is a database. It requires database software to use it. A database is sort of like a spreadsheet on steroids. The database equivalent of a spreadsheet is called a table. Annual BARD databases contain 4 tables: an accident table, a vessel table, an injury table, and a death table. What is next? Our future tutorials will tour the BARD database, explain what BARD can do for you, and demonstrate tools and techniques for identifying accidents involving several specific types of boats or accident scenarios. We will review database software options, the structure of the BARD database, share some tips we've learned over the years, explain how to get the annual BARD database itself, and much more. PropellerSafety.com's series of BARD tutorials can help you and others succeed in climbing the mountain and accessing BARD on your own.